I would like to talk a little bit about the view from Bishop Irenei, who's the Rocor bishop. All right, so let's have a look at what he has to say. He says that we should be trying to follow Christ and not trying to make the church into this little social club where we get to have our beliefs about gender roles, masculinity, femininity, and try to adhere what the church teaches about that. That's what he says. He literally wrote a sermon in response to Father Moses McPherson's article in the BBC, where he was talking about how orthodoxy is so masculine, right? And he literally calls you guys out, distinctly so, right? He does that. What I find really interesting about Andrew and some of the other people like Rachel.
Well, who's you guys though? Does that include me?
I'm sorry, I'm talking.
It is her timer.
Is he including me?
It is her timer. Hold your thought until she's done, Andrew, and then I'll give it to you.
Yeah, what I find very interesting is that none of you seem to be doing any videos talking about how you have humbled yourself because a bishop has spoken to you directly to you, and some of the other people that share the views with you, and how you're actually displaying a level of humbleness and leading by redemption, which is what we are called to do, especially as a man. If you have the primary office of the king, according to Dr. Baptistus, an Orthodox theologian, not my teaching, his teaching, then you are supposed to be leading in your redemption and demonstrating that. And that is where any type of authority that you may have comes from. It doesn't come from you going on the internet and calling a bunch of OnlyFans girls and then turning around and saying, oh, it's just tough love. I'm just doing this to shock you into good behavior. No, what you're doing is shaming them and making them feel any lower than they already are.
All right, back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, so anyway, notice that Natty makes a series of claims we still don't have any evidence for. She says that we were called out by what some clergy somewhere? Show us. Show us this call out. Also, you say bishops have come to me and corrected me? Show me. Like, show me any of the evidence of it. What are you talking about? Also, when it comes to this, your very first claim was that Rachel's book was, and somehow she conspired with this guy, Peter Wright, to write all about gynocentrism from the etymological worldview of Peter Wright and what he means by gynocentrism. I have been willing over and over again to, in the most good faith way, allow you to show your evidence for that claim. Not a correlate where you say, oh, she says things in the book that I think sound similar or whatever. Show the actual evidence that they did. Show it, because I just demonstrated proof that they could not have. It would not have even been possible based on the timeline. Literally, it would have been impossible. The next claim that you made was very simple. You said that they had a Patreon connection. Yes, you did, and you said it multiple times that they had a Patreon connection, and that via this Patreon connection, they were also colluding with the same view of gynocentrism that this guy holds. I'm also willing to grant the possibility of this, and in a good faith way, hold out an olive branch so that you can show the proof, Natty. And here's what's going to happen again. Natty's going to say, I'd like to pull up what some guy said about some other that doesn't address this core issue, because I refuse to admit that I'm wrong about anything, because I've never learned Natty. Natty has been caught on this, I don't know how many times. I'll always be able to do this to her because she refuses to back down on the view, but refuses to show any evidence. And I just showed evidence. I showed real proof that this couldn't have been possible. And she's still going to watch. She's going to double down. No proof.
Natty, to you.
Fascinating how when we have debates, there isn't necessarily some expectation that we need to have some kind of documented screenshot of a case that someone else said, even though we are actually arguing from a place of logic and examining what the other person's viewpoints are. Fascinating how Andrew cannot do that. He cannot actually have a back and forth with me where he talks about what his view of gynocentrism is. I've already made a bunch of claims from my observation of his talking points, which I believe are rooted in a Protestant fundamentalist presupposition. He has claimed on a space, when I spoke to him before, that he's received advice from Father Trenham. Well, Father Trenham has a series called The Good Wife, And he actually says there's a transcript, and I can put a link to the transcript online of what he says in that. He says that if a wife is being by her husband, she still needs to be quiet and put up with it, pray about it, because if she loses her temper in response, she is worse than him. This is not something that you would ever hear an Orthodox saint, the church fathers, or a member of clergy, or any authority in the church ever say. Yet Father Trenum is saying that online, unfortunately, and many members of clergy are quietly, basically, not very happy with the fact that he still puts his Calvinism through his orthodoxy. Now, if Andrew Wilson is taking spiritual advice from this man who says this type of thing, again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, even if he doesn't believe in gynocentrism theory, which I think I've proven that he does, he actually is now still putting his orthodoxy through Calvinistic, Protestant fundamentalist presupposition, and he thinks that marriage is okay as long as you put up and shut up.
Thank you to you, Andrew.
Great. Let's respond to this. So first and foremost, never met Father Trenum, never taken any advice from him. Do you have any evidence for that? Do you, including the space that you're referencing? Because you've brought this up multiple times that I listened to Father Trenum or something like this. Never met the guy, ever, not once. Never had a conversation with him, Natty, not once. So what does Natty do? She says, this is an attribute that I'm going to give to this guy who's not Andrew Wilson, and then try to create a link between these two. Therefore, his view becomes inserted on Andrew Wilson's view. However, I would love to see any evidence whatsoever I've ever even had a conversation with Father Trenum. Like one. I don't recall ever having one conversation with this guy, Natty. Not a single time do I recall ever talking to Father Trenum. Not once. But I am willing again to, in the spirit of good faith, allow you to present the evidence that I take spiritual advice from this guy, which is a claim you just made, instead of my own spiritual father, right? Because I don't take spiritual advice from anybody except my spiritual father. Nobody. Right? I don't even run in those circles. I don't run in the ortho bro circles with the various. I don't even run in those circles. So I don't know what you mean when you say that I'm taking spiritual advice from these other people. What I would like is your evidence now that for this new claim that you made that I'm somehow associated with Father Trenum, or that I'm taking spiritual advice from him, and that I agree with what he says about A, B, C, or D. The reason that these burdens of proof fall on you, Natty, is because you're the one making the claims, Natty. So if you make the claim, the burden of proof is on you to demonstrate the claim. That's all I'm asking you to do. You keep wanting me to give you your answers. Just demonstrate that this is the case. Go ahead.
Happy to you.
Okay, Andrew, if you keep running and running and running from the claims and hiding behind this burden, this idea of the burden of proof, and it only has to be a certain way that you say, and the fact that you think you're the authority on this is absolutely hilarious. Let's read out a tweet that you said. Let's read this one out. Let's go to this tweet here. Provocation is necessary, especially with women in our gynocentric simpocalypse. If people are saying what's true, I want to see it, because it's in capital letters. Sorry, I had to shout. So that's one tweet where Andrew has used the term gynocentrism by name. Is he going to tell us that when he responds, oh, yes, Andrew, where's your cigarette? Put it in your mouth. You need another nicotine fix, bro.
Anyway, so back to this. I brought, again, clear evidence and receipts. The reason I'm not willing to move past this into any other conversation is because I want to make sure I'm dealing with a good faith interlocutor. What is the point and purpose of me dealing with a person who lies and slanders me all the time and believe anything that she says when she can't show the basics of the evidences, which are the baseline requirements, the pillars, if you will, for her to try to have an opposition to my worldview? Her opposition to my worldview is established in the idea that gynocentrism by one Mr. Peter Wright is exactly what I always mean when I use the word, which I don't even think I use it much. But even if I do, she would have to establish that that's what I mean by that, and that this link exists between us, which she constantly claims. Now, if she can establish this link between us, that's fine. We'll continue to go. I will read every message I've ever had with this guy. I'm happy to do right now live. Hang on a second. X is searching for him. I get a lot of messages. It takes a second to pull them up. So why that's pulling up, and I promise I'll read every single DM I've ever had with this guy right now, live, in front of everybody. Have no problem with that whatsoever. In fact, maybe I might be able to do this an easier way. What's his X handle?
At Gynocentrism.
Thank you, Natty.
That's
Andrew,
from Bishop Irene from Rocor in Europe. And I will continue to read the rest of the sermon since Andrew does not want to engage in this debate properly.
That's all my messages with Peter Wright, idiot.
Go ahead and read them. And
there's none to read. You adult. That's all of them, you idiot.
That's actually funny.
Where's this cigarette? Do you need another cigarette, Bryce?
There's not a... So there. I just read every message I've ever had with Peter Wright for you live, Matt Natty. Showed them all to you. Did you see them?
I don't care.
You don't care? My whole worldview of gynocentrism comes with a guy I've never talked to, Natty.
The entire right wing believes in gynocentrism theory.
Entire right wing.